Right, so we'll be continuing on with really focusing on the shoulder girdle today. Next week, I'll start more with the pelvis and the legs. So let's just start by coming to stand and just check in for a soma scan. So if you can close your eyes, that feels all right for you, go ahead, and just get a sense of yourself as a whole person. Body, mind, emotions. And does an adjective come up for you? How you're feeling today as a whole person. And then get a sense of yourself standing here and how you're bearing weight over your feet. Are your feet standing symmetrically? Are your feet more or less parallel to one another and pointing forward? Or is one foot turned out more than the other? And then how are you bearing the weight over each of the feet? So there's that foot triangle of support. Can you sort of move around forward and back, side to side, so you can find those 3 bony points of support. And then lift your 10 toes up to really reinforce that grounding through those 3 points. Lengthen and separate the toes, and then let your toes drift down nice and long and landing lightly. And then let your awareness move up to the knees, soften the knees a little bit, unlock the knees. Feel the pelvis, feel your tailbone, and maybe bring your hands around to find your sacrum and the tailbone. And then just kind of swing your tail forward and back. See if you can sense some sort of weight dropping down through the pelvis. And then find a neutral place where the pelvis feels equally long at the front and the back. And then get a sense of your pelvis side to side. If you bring your hands up to your pelvis, does one side of the pelvis at the waistline feel higher than the other? If you poke your fingers into the waistline, does one side feel tighter than the other? And then let your arms drop down to your sides and get a sense of your shoulders. And how about the armpits? For the distance from each of the armpits down to the waistline, how does that feel from the inside? Does it feel symmetrical? Or does one side feel a little shorter than the other? And then the shoulder girdle itself. Do the shoulders feel like they're falling forward or being pulled back? Do they feel like they're up around your ears or pulled down? And then just move your shoulders forward and back. And if you'll recall, we were exploring finding the sweet spot for the shoulder position where your chest feels unencumbered by muscular restriction, so that as you take in a deep breath into your chest, it feels as though the entire rib cage is participating in the breath. So just take a few breaths into the rib cage and see if you can find that sweet spot for your shoulders. And as you breathe into your chest, can you sense, is there a part of your chest, some part of your lungs where you don't feel that you're able to receive the air in the same way as other parts of your lungs? And if you find a place like that, maybe a congestion or a feeling of dullness or not really feeling it too much, can you breathe intentionally into that place? And then let's all imagine breathing more fully into the entire right lung. And then the entire left lung. And then both sides together. And then feel the head relative to the rest of the body. Do you feel like you're dangling, almost dangling from the crown of the head? Or does the head feel forward of your shoulders or pulled back? And maybe just slide the head back like the chin is on a track. Just slide it back. Feel the back of the neck lengthen, the crown lift. And see if you can find that place where the neck feels long but not stiff. The face is relaxed. And then blink open the eyes, and we'll just review that little exploration we did, maybe it was last week, to explore the effect of tension in the body on range of motion. And we'll just work with the shoulders because it's so easy to feel that. So nice quiet rib cage. Without moving the rib cage, you're just going to lift the arms up until you meet some feeling of resistance, muscular resistance, and just see how high the arms are. And is one arm higher than the other? Is it different side to side? And then lower the arms down. And then we'll clench the jaw. So really bite down, clench your teeth, and do the same thing again. And relax the jaw and release the arms. Was it different? And then clench your buttocks. Really squeeze your glutes. Same thing again. And then release. So you might not have noticed a big difference. For me, it's a huge difference. So it's very interesting, and we all carry muscular tension patterns. So, if you feel like your shoulders are cranky, you don't have a lot of range of motion, it's not necessarily a shoulder issue primarily. It's sort of a whole body attention that we need to pay to. So let's just shake out the arms and the legs, move the jaw around. And the jaw is really an important part of our bodies because it's basically a free hanging structure which helps the brain to, with proprioception, to detect where you are in space. And also when you're walking, it's something that is almost like a tiny little pendulum to help keep you going forward. And when we walk, if you just put your hands to the top of your pelvis, and bend one knee and allow that hip to lift up. And then go down, lift up, press into the ball of the foot, and go down. So not really pushing the hip up, but just imagine that you're walking upstairs and get a sense of your pelvic movement up and down here. And then come to neutral and swing your jaw over to the right and hold it there. And do the same thing again. And let it come to neutral. And you might have noticed if you've tensed up the jaw on the right, that the right side of the pelvis doesn't move as freely up and down. And let's try the other side. To the left. And relax. So that's more subtle than the arm raising, but I could feel it in myself. Anybody not feel it? So let's just let go of all of that tension. So we have places in our body that tend to harbor tension readily, and the jaw is one of those. So many people grind their teeth or have clicking jaws or temporomandibular issues. So is it the jaw that's causing the problem, or is it in the pelvis or in the shoulders or somewhere else? So even though we are shining the light on the shoulders, it is always a full body approach, just in case something elsewhere is causing any issues. So let's come to stand with the feet a little wider than hips width apart, and we'll just take a moment to become more grounded to the earth. Softness in the knees, and we'll scoop up earth energy. So pull earth energy up. So it's just like you're a tree pulling water up around the level of the heart. Flip your palms and become a link between heaven and earth. Really feel yourself, a strong link. The tail is hanging down as the palms reach up, and then release the fingers, and then separate the fingers, and it's like you're combing through a bubble of energy around yourself, protective bubble. Take a moment to relax and feel. I'm going to turn the heart slightly to the left. We'll do the same thing again, scooping earth energy up, pull it up, and then become the link. And then release the hands and comb through, really reach out through the fingers. Stream energy around yourself. And relax. Back to center. And then we'll turn a little to the right, scooping that earth energy up. These are Qigong movements. All the way up, become that link. Really feel that connection between earth and sky. And comb through that energy field. Almost visualize it. And then relax, come back to center. And let's, I'm going to do another one of the Qigong brocades, the 8 brocades, and this is called The Wise Owl Turns Its Head to Prevent the 5 Fatigues and the 7 Illnesses. Sounds nicer in Chinese. So we're going to bring the hands forward. We're going to take in a breath. On the exhalation, we're going to spin the palms and turn the head in one direction. So you're looking over your shoulder, turn the palms out, and then inhale to center. Exhale, turn your head to the other side, turn your palms. You can turn the palms forward as you turn your head, and then turn the palms down as you come back to center. Softness in the knees, softness in the elbows. Exhaling to turn, to look around behind you. So without straining, just think about this spiraling action between the hands and the head. Exhale to the side, open palms, inhale to center. And see if you can coordinate that movement. That spiraling action is really good for opening the meridians associated with the lungs, respiratory system. And I really like to separate the fingers to really help to open the meridians, open the fascia in the hands. And from a somatic point of view, you might notice, how does that feel for you? Does one side feel different as compared to the other? Can you soften the movement a little bit so that there's no strain, no huge muscular effort involved? It's really like the intention is to release tension, to let it go. I'll do one more to each side. So the chest is relatively quiet. It's the arms spinning and the head looking around. If you were an owl, you'd be probably able to look all the way behind you. And then let that go and just take a moment to relax. Let's take the Chinese drum and just let the arms be like empty shirt sleeves. You might like to come around to give you a very gentle massage at the kidney region. The kidneys are associated with our life force in traditional Chinese medicine. We have a certain amount of life force that we're born with that we want to keep vital. And this is also a movement called knocking on heaven's door. And then let that go slowly. And further, keeping with the fascial tissues in the arms, we'll do the putting on the opera gloves movement exploration. So choose an arm and think about really long gloves, really tight gloves that you need to smooth up from the pinky finger all the way up the inner seam of the arm. This is where a lot of the meridians for the lungs and heart are. Massage to the back and the front of your armpit, the pectorals and the trapezius muscles. And then go right into the pectoral muscle. Take the arm back a little, really deep into the rib cage towards the center of the chest. And then all the way down the center line. Let that arm go. Just let it hang down for a moment and feel, can you feel any difference between one arm and the other? And then let's go to the index finger and the thumb and smooth that up, the outside seam of the arm. More towards the front of the shoulder. And you can be quite firm with your massage over your shoulder. The upper trapezius area up to your neck. And then again down through the front. And then feel that arm compared to the other one. Does one arm feel different as compared to the other? And then we'll do an arm pendulum on that side, so softly bent knees, just same arm, we'll just do some circles. So the arm is heavy, it's got those heavy bones in there. Let the soft tissues be light and let the arm just circle. See if you can use just a little muscular effort to get it started, but then you might use your whole body to keep the movement going. So the arm is very passive. It's wonderful for the shoulder joint to keep that synovial fluids in the joint of the shoulder really liquid and go in the other direction. So if you encounter some clicking or clunking, which I'm doing in this direction, make it a smaller movement so that you don't further irritate something that might be tight. And then just let the arm dangle heavily. And then we'll come to stand. Take a moment to assess one side as compared to the other. Just imagine looking at your arms from outside of yourself. And then we'll do the same thing on the other arm. So shake out the arm, we'll put on the opera glove here. So we have this fascia, this connective tissue that wraps, it's in the skin, around the bones, in and around through the muscles. It's almost like a sheet of saran wrap. And as we move and massage it, it becomes more like a liquid than something that's stiff. To the other side. So if you have shoulder issues or elbow or hand issues, you could spend a lot of time doing this sort of massage. It's really beneficial. And if you find a tender spot, rather than digging right into it, sort of massage around it. And also, we'll massage the center of the palm, both sides. Some of you might have heard the story that my sister told me. She was a massage therapist of a patient of hers who came to her every 2 weeks with terrible shoulder issues. The pain would resolve for a little while and it would come right back. And it drove my sister crazy because she was trying all sorts of things. Do the other side as well. And she asked this woman what she did for, in her spare time. And she was a gardener as her profession, and she's still doing a lot of gardening through her retirement. And she realized, so my sister explored the hand, and she found she said it was like a bunch, something bunching in the palm of one of her hands. So this basically what she did was she pulled that fascia up. The bunching went away, and so did the pain. So it was like this pushing on the shovel all the time was pulling the fascia down, pulling on the neck and shoulders. So, interesting to think about what sorts of things you do with your body. Let's shake out the hands. I'll shake out the feet. And we'll do the arm pendulum on the other side as well, almost forgot. So is this side different as compared to the other? We tend to have a dominant side. Is this a perfect circle or has it got some flat edges? In the opposite direction. And I'll just come up to stand. Take a moment to feel the arms. If there was asymmetry to begin with, is it better now? Is there more symmetry? And do you feel anything like some sort of lightness or effervescence, any change at all internally? And then let's inhale and sweep the arms up. And take the hands down, press down through center. Let this be like a cleansing. So breathing in lightness. And then just clearing away any residual tension, mental, emotional, physical. One more time, breathing in lightness. And then taking that lightness and clearing your whole system. Let's take the hands back behind us to the sacrum. And we're going to then move the hands up a little higher to the area of the kidneys. And we're just going to come into a forward fold. So we're going to slide the hands down the back of the body, bend the knees, sweep the hands down the back seam of the legs to the back of the ankles, around to the front of the ankles. And then trace the hands up the inside seam of the leg to the knee, to the groin. And then just around the area of the groin, let the hands come off the body and pull energy up, connect up with the sky, and then exhale down. We'll do that twice more, so bringing the hands back around to the kidneys. Slide the hands down. This is the kidney bladder meridian. So a light touch. Let the head hang down. And then trace up the inside seam of the leg. That's the kidney meridian. That comes up, pierces the groin, and then runs along alongside the spine, all the way up. Be that link, and then slowly come down once again. Take a moment to feel. And then once more, coming around, hands to the kidneys. Soften the knees and slide the hands down the back of the body. Let the spine drip down, head drip down. And then tracing up. Think about putting on some really long socks. And then tracing all the way up. Renewing our life force. And then a cleansing. And then we'll come down to the ground and we'll take the bolster to lie in heart bed to begin with. So I have a short bolster, but this is like a long one. So you'll want your head to be supported at the top end. If that feels too strong for you to lie on the bolster, by all means you can lie on your back on the floor. So that bolster goes down the center of your spine. The lower end is somewhere in the small of the back or even higher around the bra line. So you need to fiddle around with it a little bit to find what is good for you. You can have your feet standing, your knees bent to begin with if your back is tender today. Or you can extend the legs out along the floor. So find a place where your head feels supported and your head is in a neutral position so the chin isn't jutting up. There's those little kneeling pads. If anybody needs one, I can bring one to you. And then take a moment to nod yes. So just nod the chin towards the chest, keeping the head on the bolster, just so you can feel some lengthening in the back of the neck. And then just tip your head side to side, roll the head side to side, like you're doing a no. And check into the jaw, and is your jaw swaying from side to side? Is there so little tension in the jaw that you can feel some movement in the jaw drifting from side to side? And then let the head come to a neutral position. So it's interesting to check into your jaw, what your jaw is feeling like through your practice, just because it does have that influence on the rest of your body, particularly the pelvis. So take one hand and place it just below your heart, just at the bottom end of your sternum. And then the other hand goes down just about around the pubic bone, right at the bottom of the pelvis there. And this is right under your hands, there's a superficial muscle called the rectus abdominis. It's the one that everybody seems to want, that 6-pack or 8-pack set of muscles. But it's one long muscle from just below the heart all the way down and attaches to the pubic bone. So it starts at the sternum, the lower ribs, all the way down there. So it's a really long muscle. And can you feel how when you're lying in this position, it's kind of lengthened out? So just get a sense of that. And as we lengthen out the front of the muscle, you might bring your awareness around to the back of your body, and the small of your back, if you're lying on a bolster, is a little shorter than ordinarily. So we're just allowing this to be a very yin, very soft release of the tension of these abdominal muscles. So you can leave your hands there if that feels good, or you can take them off to the side or wherever. But bring the awareness to that belly, and as you breathe in, send the essence of the breath down to the lower abdomen. And can you sense the muscles of that abdomen, those rectus abdominal muscles? You're just having a lengthening, a release. And then as you exhale, draw the belly in towards the spine gently. You can just almost hollow the belly, and you're contracting that rectus abdominis. So breathing in, so you have a balloon in the pelvis that you're inflating. You can feel that rectus abdominis lengthening. And then on the exhalation, we can draw the belly in to help contract or shorten that muscle, that rectus abdominis. And then releasing. So continue to breathe with this awareness. We're told so often to, pull your belly in, stand up straight, tighten up those muscles, do all these sit-ups to have a flat, hard stomach. But what we really want is resiliency in this area of the body. It's strong. When it needs to contract and be strong, it can do that, but it can also release to lengthen. Because when this part of the body is tight, it's like a stress response for the nervous system. So feeling this resiliency in the belly as we breathe in and it relaxes, and then we can voluntarily contract it and then release it, builds this resiliency in this part of the body that is so much a focus for us. And if you deep dive your awareness down to the level of the spine, we're also giving the psoas muscles, our deepest core postural muscles, an opportunity to relax, and the spine, to the vertebrae, to be drawn apart, to decompress. Let's do just a few more of these, breathing in, and bring a sense of lightness into your center with every inhalation. And with every exhalation, it's an opportunity to let go of something that doesn't serve you. Expectations of yourself, of others. Just finding that neutral territory for yourself. A nice clean slate. And then let's bring the feet to standing if they're not there already, one at a time. We'll roll over to lie onto the left side. So you can take your bolster and just have it handy, maybe put it to the front of yourself or somewhere nearby. You can bring your left arm? Yeah, left arm under your head if you like. If it feels okay for that left arm to be under your head, reaching towards the back of the room, you can do that. Use your upper arm as a pillow. Draw the knees up nice and high so you're in a side-lying chair pose. And then let's just do a few clamshells. So the legs are at right angles. The upper leg and the lower leg are at right angles to one another. So you can just about see your toes peeking around the horizon of your knees. And have a very quiet pelvis here. So you could take your top hand and place it on your sacrum. So you can make sure that your sacrum isn't going forward and back as your leg is lifting up. Super quiet pelvis. Slowly lift the top knee away from the bottom knee. Really slowly challenge those muscles. Feel what's doing the work, and then even more slowly lower the knee down. When the knee lands, take a moment to relax. A few seconds. And then as you're ready, breathe in, float the knee up. Quiet pelvis. Really slowly on the upswing. See what the quality of the movement is. Pause at the top of the upswing, and then even more slowly lower it down. We're pandiculating the pelvic stabilizing muscles. When that knee lands, take a moment's pause to absolutely relax everything, mental and physical, because that's when the change happens, in that little pause. So no movement in the pelvis. It doesn't matter. It's not about getting the knee up as high as possible. It's exploring the spectrum of movement from resting on the other knee to its full range of motion, separate from pelvic movement, and then down again. So when you've done 3 or 4 of these, no movement in the pelvis whatsoever, because if you swing your pelvis around, it'll seem like your knee can move a lot. You've got a lot of mobility in the hip, but the pelvis needs to be still. And now let's take the hand, that top hand, to the top of the pelvis, and we'll do a few of the flapper movements to move the pelvis up and down now. So the knees stay together, and the top foot swings away from the bottom foot, and allow that side of the pelvis to nudge up towards the armpit. So the 2 feet are stacked one over the other. The top foot swings up, the pelvis swings up towards the armpit, and then the top foot slowly meets the bottom foot again. If you like, you can explore, as you lift that top foot up, that side of the pelvis goes up, but also forward slightly. You can add that little extra bit of movement. And then when the foot comes down, the pelvis goes down to where it started and back. Really slowly up. What's the quality of the movement? Is it jerky, shaky? Explore different aspects of the movement. And when you've done about 4 of these, really slowly, because when we do things slowly, we challenge all the musculature even more. So we always do think about, want to have a big range of motion. But really what we want is really easy, smooth, under our full control movement, under the full spectrum of the movement. So now let's just do a couple more from this, the resting position. Just lift your top foot up maybe 3 inches away from the bottom foot. It's a lot more difficult. And then slowly down again, even more slowly down. And did you find that the movement was smooth or shaky through this smaller movement? And then explore another range of motion, maybe 6 inches. Slowly up and slowly down. And then relax. And then we'll just do an alternating movement here for the pelvis. So we're going to do a clamshell, slow clamshell. Choose a spectrum of movement. Sometimes a small one is much more difficult than the big one. Quiet pelvis. The pelvis is not swinging forward and back. And then do a flapper movement. Hiking that hip up as you lift the foot up. And then down. So 1 clamshell, 1 flapper. This is a real party for the rotators of the leg bone and movement of the pelvis up and down and forward. And then relax. Take a moment just to relax here. With the pelvis stacked, let's one hip on top of another. Take the top hand forward of you, so reach that hand forward on the floor. And slide the hand forward now so the rib cage rolls forward, the heart rolls towards the floor, the head rolls, face rolls towards the floor. And feel how that pulls the shoulder blade forward. And then roll the rib cage back, let the hand come back and the head come back. So the pelvis is nice and quiet here. We'll do that again. Slide the hand forward, roll the rib cage forward, head rolls forward. So So the navel isn't turning towards the floor so much. It's really from the waistline up and then slide back. Just a few times, isolating the movement from the waistline and up. No pelvic rolling, no knees sliding, just the upper body rolling, exploring your range of motion, and then coming back. And now with the knees glued together, let's slide that top hand over to the lower shoulder and slide your hand across the collarbones to the same side shoulder. Let the head roll and the rib cage roll so the heart's pointing more towards the ceiling. And then slide the hand forward again, all the way forward on the floor. Let the head roll and the rib cage roll forward. And then back. Just see if you can feel that the movement is happening just from the waist up. No straining, it's just an invitation to lubricate those soft tissues. And the next time your top hand is forward, keep the hand there and reach the top leg straight down to the base of the mat. Reach out through your foot triangle. Grow the leg really long and then reach the leg back behind you. Reach out through the ball of the foot. Straight leg, reach back behind you. Engage the glute and then swing the leg forward again to rest knee on knee. So extending out through the foot again, reaching that top arm forward as the top leg reaches down and straight back behind you. Reach out through the ball of the foot. Lengthen the back of the leg, engage the glute, engage the back of the leg, and then come back knee on knee, foot on foot. Take a moment's pause. Breathe into the sideline of the body, and then we'll roll over onto the back for a moment. So just like you're rolling over in bed, no big, huge effort, just rolling over onto your back. And then taking a moment in the supine soma scan, lying on your back with the legs extended, and get a sense of the two sides of your body, like there's a dotted line down the middle of your body. Does one side feel different as compared to the other? So the side that you were moving, the top side of your body, as we were lying on the side, what does that side feel like compared to the other? From the inside. So does one leg feel longer than the other? Is there some difference in the way you feel the waistline one side compared to the other? If you could only take one half of your body home with you today, which one would it be? Is there a side that feels lighter, more life, a lot more life force? And then taking a nice deep breath as though you could breathe into every part of yourself. Long exhalation out through the mouth, just a nice cleansing breath. And then we'll stand the feet on the floor and roll over onto the other side. So assume that side-lying chair pose, so the thighs, the knees are as close to the level of your hip joints as you can. The lower legs are brought forward so you can see your toes over your kneecaps. This relaxes the front and the back of the legs equally, lengthens them. And then bring your top hand to rest on your sacrum so you can get a sense that your pelvis is absolutely still immobile as you lift your top knee slowly away from your bottom knee. And usually it's good to just see what's your full range of motion. Is it different on this side as compared to the other? And then a slow release down. And then maybe choose a different spectrum of movement. The top knee lifts away from the bottom knee. So we'll do about 4 of the clamshells. Maybe choose just a tiny range of motion. Remember to keep the feet forward so that the legs are at the knees are at right angles. Slow on the upswing, notice what your quality of your movement is, and then even more slowly on the downswing, and that moment's pause between movement where everything relaxes is where the brain is resetting the resting tone of the muscles. And these are really important muscles that we're working with right now because they're the muscles that stabilize our pelvis. And for many of us, they're weak or overworked. So either end of that spectrum is not a healthy place. We want resiliency, strength, and ability to let go. So when you've done your exploration of the clamshell, we'll do work with the flapper movement. So it's useful to take that top hand to the top of the pelvis, to the waistline, so that as you lift your top foot up, you can feel that side of the pelvis moving up towards the armpit. The knees stay glued together. It's just the lower leg. The top foot leaves the bottom foot. Knees stay together. We're moving the pelvis up towards the armpit. So knees stay together and it's just the top foot. That's it. Here we go. It's an unusual movement. And so once you find that upward movement of the pelvis as you lift your foot up, you can also add a little forward movement. So the foot lifts up, the pelvis moves towards the armpit, and then forward, spirals forward a little. So try different movements, different spectrum, different movements along the spectrum. And when you've done 4 of these at least, and you've taken those little pauses, somatic pauses, then alternate. Do a clamshell, choose a small spectrum of movement. Knees come together again, take a moment's pause. And then do a flapper. Pelvis moves up and forward. Alternating back and forth. And another alternate way of moving through these clamshells and flappers is once you feel the muscles that are working to help create the movement, can you, instead of thinking about what your foot or your knee is doing, can you engage through your pelvis to make the knee move up or the foot lift up? Sort of a top-down way of looking at this movement. And then when you feel satisfied with this exploration, you can give yourself a massage wherever you felt the work was being done. As always, we don't go to where there's pain or strong discomfort, because that's when learning and re-education stops. And then you can take that top hand forward and slide the hand forward to lead you into a rib cage roll. The heart rolls towards the floor and the face, and then slide the hand back to bring your rib cage back. So glue your knees together so the top knee isn't sliding forward to give you a feeling of rolling forward more. Keep your knees glued together so that the movement is from the waistline and up. Liberate tension through the rib cage. We're meant to have a lot of range of motion through this part of the body, and for a lot of us, we don't. So it's just the rib cage rolling like a barrel forward. And then you can come and roll that rib cage back. Tracing the hands across the top of the chest, let the head just come along for the ride. Really feel this liberation of movement. And the next time your hand is slid forward and your rib cage is rolling forward, pause there and reach the top leg straight down to the base of the mat. That pulls the pelvic girdle away from the armpit, and then sweep that leg straight back behind you. You can roll your pelvis forward a little as well, so you can really get a back reach to engage the glutes. And then swing your leg forward again and rest for a moment, knee on knee. These are all movements that are, when we can liberate these different ranges of motion, make us able to walk with much more grace and power. So reaching back through the ball of the foot, engaging the glute as your leg reaches back. You can reach the arm forward a little more in the pelvis. Find the length of that stride. Just a few times until you feel satisfied there. And then come to rest. Take a moment to just feel like you're integrating all of those movements. And you get a sense of having grown the sideline of your body a little longer. Then let's roll over onto the belly. So as you arrive onto your belly, you can stack your forearms and rest your head on the top forearm. And think about the groin now, where the legs join the torso. And just take a moment to lengthen each leg a little more, create a little more space for your hip joints. Now, when we were doing our clamshell, you can perhaps think of the muscles in the hollow of the pelvis and the hollow of the buttock that were activated. And I'd like you to think about activating those muscles now. It's almost like you're narrowing your hips. So engage the outer side of the glutes, pull your hips in to narrow them, and then relax them. So just do that again, just narrowing the width of your pelvis by pulling the sides of your pelvis in, the sides of your glutes in. You might feel your pubic bone pressing down a little, and then release and relax that. Let's come into Sphinx pose now. So you can explore letting your heels fall outwards or inwards. See what it feels like for you in terms of compression through your low back. So lifting up onto your forearms, keeping the pelvis grounded. It doesn't have to be a high lift. I'd like you to think about the bra line area. So if you think about the bra line at the back of your body, the front of the body is the upper end of that rectus abdominis muscle. So we're giving it an opportunity to lengthen now. So the superficial muscles on the surface are having a yawn-like experience. But also, if you deep dive to the level of the spine, so are those psoas major muscles, our deep core stabilizers. So as you're releasing those, think about continuing to breathe, perhaps sending the breath into the level of the kidneys. And as we breathe a little more deeply in this position, it's like a massage for those deep core stabilizers. As we inhale, the diaphragm moves down and the psoas muscles relax. And then as we exhale and the diaphragm moves up, the psoas muscles also contract. So pay attention to what's happening in your low back. In this position, there is compression of the bones and some gathering of the fascia in the low back. Make sure it's not too strong. A couple more breaths here. Just thinking about each breath lengthening the torso. And then as you're ready, you can lower down your chest onto the floor and bend one knee up and out to the side. So the inner knee, the inner ankle rests on the floor. And this helps to pull the fascia that's being gathered in the low back. It helps to pull it out again, just like the gardener with the fascia gathered in her palm. So this is a release for the lower end of the psoas. And you'll notice that we do these movements in every one of our yin classes, because if there's one set of movements you want to do on a daily basis, it's a low sphinx and then the half frog, and you can even do them at the same time. So allow yourself just to breathe into the whole length of the center of your body. Nothing too dramatic. The psoas is a very sensitive part of ourselves. And then extend that leg long and bend the other knee up and out to the side. Let the head turn in the other direction. Let the head and neck relax. Feel the weight of your thigh bone and see if you can just let gravity be your friend here to help release any residual tension. So we started the process of releasing the hip flexor, the lower end of the psoas, when we reached the leg back behind us when we were lying on our side and engaging the glute, because the glute works together with the hip flexor to give you mobility and stability through your pelvis. And then let's extend that leg back behind us. Bend your knees up and just let your legs sway side to side. Maybe let your head roll side to side and get a sense of your jaw. Is it able to move? Is it relaxed? Very often if we're trying to do something, work through some pain or something uncomfortable, we grip through our jaw. So really become aware of what you're doing with your jaw. Is it a reaction to something, or is it the source of tension for you? And then let the legs come down behind you, and we'll do a little bit of a neck release now. So take your hands out wider than the shoulders with your elbows resting on the floor. So your elbows might be about the level of your shoulders or slightly south of them. And I'd like you to turn your head to the left. So you're resting on your right cheek. Your nose is sort of straight down towards the floor. So we're going to take in a breath, and supporting yourself with your arms, I'd like you to lift your head and neck away from the floor and the shoulders. And as you lift, turn your head through center and over to the other side, and then lower your head down on the other cheek. So moving with the breath, inhale, lift the head up, turn the nose through center, over to the other side, and then lower the head down. So moving with the breath, inhale up, turning the head slowly across the horizon, and down to the other side. So really feel as you're doing this movement that the neck muscles, the back of the neck are long. So it's not all, the muscles and the bones aren't compressed. It's a way of allowing those muscles that support the back of the head to have a really nice opportunity to move through a full, easy spectrum of movement. And the bones of the neck are able to be freely moving, and the discs between the bones are having an opportunity to become really nicely hydrated. So maybe one more time, just feeling that resiliency in the back of the neck, and then just take a moment to relax and let go. And now let's come up onto hands and knees. Now you might want to just spin around so you're facing me. We're going to do the lion's breath, which is a release for the jaw and the tongue. The tongue muscles can really participate in creating neck tension. So I'll do a demonstration for your viewing pleasure. So you're familiar with the cat-cow movement where we arch the spine, but we're going to do it in the, very often we'll breathe, the breathing pattern will be different here. We're going to breathe in and arch the spine, like you can think about breathing into the kidneys. And then on the exhalation, we'll arch the spine, look forward, and stick the tongue way out. Really stick it out. Think about Kiss and that horrible long tongue that guy has, trying to emulate that. So let's try that together. Inhale, arch the spine, let the head hang down, the tongue relax, breathe into the kidneys. On the exhalation, reach the heart forward, gaze forward, reach the tongue out, really reach it out. Reel the tongue in, breathing into the back, tail hangs down, head hangs down, and then reaching the tongue out. You can even roar. Rah. Reel the tongue in, breathing into the kidneys, tail and head hang down, tongues relaxed, and then exhale, look forward, reach the tongue out. A few more times. Shall I capture this on YouTube? No, we won't do that to you. So really think about the breath moving. Release, to really stick the tongue out. A couple more times. And for the full lion, you can also, as you stick your tongue out, look down towards the tip of your nose. So one more time. Reel the tongue in, and then come down onto the elbows and stack your hands or your fists and rest your forehead on the top fist. And just take a moment to feel around your jaw. Feel the tongue. It's a wonderful release of tension for the jaw. So the muscles that in the jaw that are responsible for chewing are the ones that are often very, very tight on people. They're the ones that are just under the cheekbone. The muscles that work as a balance, that work together, the antagonist muscles of those masseter chewing muscles, are on the underside of the jaw. And you can access those by pressing your tongue up against the roof of your mouth, and you'll feel the underside of your jaw, underside of your chin activate. So activate those and relax. So we're pandiculating those muscles, and again, press the tongue up to the roof of the mouth and relax. And then let's come all the way over to lie on the back. Feet standing on the floor, and I'd like you just to take a moment with your head fully supported to just let your head roll side to side. Let the jaw drift from side to side. And then we'll spend the last 5 minutes in our non-sleep, deep relaxation. So you can lie on your back if that's a happy place for you. You can take some support under your thighs, or if another position is more appealing to you, you can have that. But choose a position where you don't have to work to hold yourself. Take any movements that you need now to release any residual tension. So you can deliberately now let go of any inclination to move your body. Allow your mind to just drift through the body and just check into every part of yourself. And if there's a part of yourself that feels somehow disconnected or tender or congested, deliberately send the essence of the breath to that place with the intention of creating a little more lightness there for yourself. And with that intention planted of lightness and freedom, allow your mind to be set adrift. No attachment to anything for the next moment or two. Just take a moment to savor this internal spaciousness. The more we practice this, the easier it is to access. It's sort of a sweet spot for our mind. And then begin to deepen the breath. Coming gradually into this feeling of breathing into the entire body. Each and every cell nourished with the life force that is riding on the breath. And then begin to invite some small movements into the fingers and toes, the arms and the legs. And let the head roll side to side, the jaw drifting, the tongue resting very softly at the roof of the mouth. And then bring your feet to standing, and slowly we'll make our way over to lie on one side. And then coming up gradually to seated and to standing. Just take your time. Make sure that you breathe in as you come up. Come to invite movement into the whole body. And today I'd like to close our practice with the sumo stance, just to really fire up our deep core. So we'll take the legs a little wider than the shoulders, the feet turn out, and we'll just begin by just bending the knees over the feet. So just do this a couple of times, just to activate the legs coming up and then down. Couple of times, really to wake up the legs. And then we're going to stick the rear end way out to swing open the pelvis, release the pelvic floor, and then it's going to scoop up earth energy and pull it up. Pull the pelvic floor lightly up to about the level of the heart. Flip the palms, reach up the fingers, lift up the toes if you like. And then as you release the fingers down, release the toes down. And we'll bring the hands to rest on the thighs, and we'll bend the knees, reach the sitting bones way back. Swing open the wings of the pelvis, and then the scoop up earth energy, pull it up the legs, up into the pelvis, light lift through the pelvic floor, all the way up. Reach up, look up, lift the toes and fingers up, and then sweep everything down. And we'll just come to heel and toe our feet in to hips width apart. Take a moment just to close the eyes and take that soma scan and compare it to when you started your class. Do you feel different? And even if you don't feel terribly different, just take that intention of self-care and place your hands over your heart and thank yourself sincerely for making the efforts on your own behalf. Namaste. And have a really wonderful day. Thank you. You're welcome.